Oh my god. So fucking hot. Can you just be fucking intro already? Hello. So this is quite late. However, this is going to be my wrap up for the month of September. So this is just going to be all the books I read in September. Okay. So, we're going to be starting, let's start at the beginning of the month. So this month I have read 7 books. 7 books altogether. And the first book that I read this month, I started in August. I started on August 28th. However, I finished it on September 1st, so it's going in this wrap-up. And that is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. I cannot remember his actual name, so we're just going with A.J. Finn for now. And I rated it 3 stars. Most of it was okay. I'm not really a thriller reader though, so I don't know how it really compares to other thrillers, and especially to like good thrillers, like really like the things that thriller readers are there for, I guess. I don't really know what's going on with thrillers. But I'd heard a lot about this book because of everything that was going on with Finn, and it was mostly okay. For me, 3 stars basically just means that a book was fine. It was about what I expected from a book. And with The Woman in the Window, that's what most of the book was. It seemed very okay. I didn't have any real problems with it. But then the climax started happening. And I don't think I'm gonna spoil the book in this review or section in my wrap up. I think I'm going to leave wrap ups mostly spoiler free, but I talk about it on my Goodreads review of it. But there's some mental health issues. I can't speak all too much about the agoraphobia rep in this book, because the main character does have agoraphobia. I do have a friend who has agoraphobia, but she hasn't read the book, so I was unfortunately not able to ask her for her opinion, and I also told her that I would not suggest she read the book. So that's probably not coming. But you know, I do kind of regret not having DNF'd it as soon as like the ending like hit. But I had like an hour left at that point, and I was just like, fucking sunk cost fallacy. So the next book that I read is a much better book. The next book that I read in the month, I started I started this on the 1st, so right after I finished The Woman in the Window, I started Lady Night. And I finished that on September 6th. And did I talk about this in my first vlog? I can't remember if I talked about it in my first vlog. But it was just really good. I love Kel so much. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. Which doesn't mean anything bad, really. Like, I enjoyed the book. I enjoyed it fine enough. I enjoyed it fine. I really enjoyed this book. It's just that 5 stars is it's a feeling. You know, you just feel it when you're like, ooh, I just finished this book, and I think I'm feeling this book. I think this book might be 5 stars. And that didn't really come with Lady Night, but you can really just tell that this book was written during 9/11. And there is a scene within it where it is very clear that, like, literally Tamara Pierce talked about this in an interview where she was in the middle of this scene, like, when she learned that 9/11 had happened. And so basically that scene was rewritten essentially because she was halfway through it and decided to start over. Like, right when she came back to writing after having her period to sort of start to cope with what had happened. So, and it's very clear. So the next book that I read, I actually have a physical copy of, because it took so fucking long for me to read it that I returned the copy I had to the library and decided, fuck it, I'm just gonna buy it at this used bookstore. And that is a book that I started on March 20th and finished on September 11th. And that is Bloodhound, also by Tamara Pierce. So this is, I gave this book 4 stars, first off, and this is the second book in the Becca Cooper trilogy. I think it's just called the Becca trilogy. But yeah, I as slow as I fucking read it. Camera died. It's not actually fully charged. So let's hope it doesn't die again. But yes, Bloodhound. So I really enjoyed this book. I liked it. I rated it 4 stars. So that shows just how much it was that I did like this book. However, it's not free of issues. Pretty glaring issues. And probably, at least a part of it, is the fact that Bloodhound was written in 2009 But there's a character in the book who is she's written as a trans woman. She explicitly says, not in so many words, because, fantasy terminology, and not really any terminology, but she said pretty clearly, that she is a woman. However, for a lot of the book, she is written a great deal more as a drag queen. Like, that's the way that she tends to be referenced, both by the narrator, Becca, because it's a journal format. I'm not certain. I can't remember if the people around her also misgender her. But, it seems a great deal like she just didn't know the difference. So, I enjoyed it enough that I wanted to give it, despite that I wanted to give it 5 stars, but I just didn't feel that with those issues I really could. So, and then the next book is also by Tamora Pierce, as is every single other book that is left on this list. Because next is Mastiff. And I rated Mastiff 5 stars. I started it on the 12th and I finished it on the 12th. And Mastiff. A lot happens in Mastiff. That's in a vlog. A lot goes down in Mastiff. Mastiff is the third book in the Becca Cooper, and of course final book in the Becca Cooper trilogy. Yes, okay. So the next 3 books, I'm going to talk about them together because they all have the same rating and they're a series. And that is, I read Alone on the First Adventure, in the hand, singular, of the Goddess, and The Woman Who Rides Like a Man. I gave all of these 4 stars. I started Alana on the 13th and finished that on the 15th. I started In the Hand of the Goddess on the 15th and finished that on the 16th. And then I finished The Woman Who Rides Like a Man on the 16th and finished that on the 17th. That's the last time I finished a book. Still haven't. This video's going up late. Still haven't. So yeah, I liked them. They were nostalgic. There's some gender issues, as one might expect, reading a book from like the early 80s that deals with gender a lot and is written by a cis woman. It's not explicitly bad so much as just it doesn't really think about other people and the fact that they exist. And it's unfortunate because Tamara does actually have a great deal to say about gender politics as they exist with cis men and women, um, that I really like and I think is very important. It just sort of ignores that other people exist, which sucks, essentially. And then there's the racial stuff in The Man Who Rides Like a Woman with the Bashir, and all of the comments about the Bashir. I think it's just with the Bashir headscarves. Not great. But I did like all of them, and they're definitely something where you go in and you think, oh, this is a book from 1982, and you're 1982. She might have even wrote it in the early 70s because it took her a little to get it published. But it's better than you might expect if I just told you the like general premise of it's like a book from the early 80s, maybe even late 70s, about a girl disguising herself as a boy to become a knight. Like, it's probably better than you expect. Still, disappointing. Well, yeah, I did enjoy it, so, them. So, 4 stars. You know. So, those are it for the books that I have read in October 2019. I like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I don't really know how to actually sign off a YouTube video.